Our first keynote speaker represents something essential to this conference: policy alignment. Senator Tan Parker has been a leading advocate for innovation, economic growth, and technology advancement in Texas. His leadership in advancing the Texas Quantum Initiative reflects a commitment of positioning our state at the forefront of emerging technologies. Please join me in welcoming Senator Tan Parker.
Well, good morning, everybody. You all fired up to be here and talk about quantum? What a great way to start your Saturday morning, right? Well, listen, in all seriousness, thank you all for coming, and thank you for caring. Thank you for taking time away from your families and your businesses and your other studies for the students that are here and so forth to be able to focus on the future of quantum. And what an incredibly important topic, and it's vitally important that we get it right. And the men and women in this room, all of you, will be instrumental in making certain that Texas gets it right. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the high-level things that we've been doing this year in Texas, and where I think we're going, and what the opportunities look like for our collective future. First and foremost, how blessed we are to be in Texas. We're in the greatest economy anywhere, absolutely. We're in the greatest economy anywhere, not just in the United States, but I would argue anywhere in the world. You know, we are the 8th largest economy in the world this morning. Our modeling shows within 3 to 4 months, we will surpass France and be the 7th largest economy in the entire world. So think about that for a moment. That's not by accident. That's because of deliberate policy decisions that we've been making for the better part of 2+ decades in Texas in your legislature, and the incredible hard work of all of you in this room in unleashing the unique and unrivaled entrepreneurial spirit of Texans that have given us this blessing. Texas, if you think about where we've been on this trajectory, we've always been leading when it comes to technology. We've always led. We led when it came to the energy world. We were the energy, and we still are the energy capital of the world. We, of course, led in aerospace. You think about all that happened in that era with NASA in its heyday. All the great aerospace developments were happening here in Texas. And, of course, in this ecosystem, here in Richardson, in this area of North Dallas, the semiconductor and the chips business was born, and that incredible innovation, of course, continues to bless this state and this nation and the world. So those kinds of technology leadership positions that Texas has had will continue as we now move forward in this new world, this quantum world, this AI world, this cyber world. And yes, I talk about AI and I talk about cyber when I talk about quantum, because they're all inextricably linked. Now, one of the things that I'll tell you this last session in 25, as the Republican leader of the Senate, I was very, very blessed to be able to focus on was our physical security. I passed my Senate Bill 36, which provides a physical security structure for Texas. For the very first time in our history, we now have in statute that we will have a secure border structurally, and that we will not just have a secure border and a structure for that, but we have a structure to make certain that we're protecting our grid and protecting our critical water systems, and we're protecting our critical communication systems. All those critical areas for Texas needed a security focus. And the Senate Bill 36 gave a security focus, that basic footprint, to protect the people of Texas. Now, just as important as that physical security bill was, for all that infrastructure, for all of the protection of all 31 million Texans, was also my bill on Texas Cyber Command. The creation of Texas Cyber Command, I would argue, was just as significant, if not more significant, because of the threats that we face today and 2026 from a cyber perspective. It's vitally important for us to understand that. And so I was very fortunate to lead and to author the creation of Texas Cyber Command, which is now being headquartered in San Antonio, where we had the vast majority of the greatest cyber skills at the federal, defense, and civilian level. And we, of course, will tie into RSOCs all across Texas. And the focus will be able to protect all 31 million Texans, to protect our enterprises, our agencies of government, all of us, in a way, frankly, that will be every bit competitive, if not superior, to what the federal government has. And I want you to understand, as a proud Texan, we're not going to sit back and wait for Washington to lead. Texas and Texans will lead. And that's what we did with the creation of Cyber Command. I talk about Cyber Command because it's so important that you understand my view, I think, of understanding this basic security framework. Every other liberty and blessing and freedom comes from this basic security framework. We can't talk about innovation today in quantum and AI and all these areas if we don't have that basic building block of security for our people and for this nation. And so, this session, I was also so fortunate to carry the Quantum Initiative legislation for Texas. This bill will take quantum from being in the realm of the abstract or the theoretical to becoming extraordinarily real. It is extraordinarily real, as all of you know right now. The implications for our critical infrastructure that I just described, the implications for our national security are enormous with quantum. The implications for our financial services industry are enormous. The future of healthcare, the future of healthcare delivery, the future of healthcare breakthroughs, all the discovery will be accelerated dramatically through the use of quantum, as we all know in this room. These are amazing. These are enormous pillars, enormous areas of our economy where quantum will play an enormously important role. And so I recognize that Texas needed to lead, that we needed to put in place a framework that would enable us to be successful. And that's what we're trying to do with this quantum bill. We are now coordinated closely with the federal government on this topic of quantum. We now have the ability to draw down and access federal money. We also have the ability now to fund this project as a state. And I'm proud to tell you that since this bill went into effect on September 1st, I passed it in the spring, it went into effect in September of 25, and I'm proud to tell you at year end, Governor Abbott funded it about $4.8 million to get this quantum initiative funded and to take it to the next level. I'll also tell you that the formation piece is now underway. The formation piece of creating a quantum advisory council, along with the coordination of all of our wonderful Tier 1 universities. And yes, I'm talking about UTD. I'm talking about all of our great assets in the UT system. I'm talking about the A&M system and so forth, all coordinating. And what an honor it is to be here with all of you, because I want to thank you for what you're doing and being pioneers in quantum, because government can't do it alone. And so this whole advisory focus, all that we're going to be doing here over the course of the next 6 and 12 months will be absolutely dependent on the experts in this room, the great academics in this room that are researching the greatest breakthroughs, incredible commercializing experts, entrepreneurs, investors, great students that understand where we're going. All of it will form this ecosystem of our bright future for quantum. And we've got to work together. So I'm excited about this advisory committee that's a key element of this quantum legislation. And I know for a fact that many of you in this room that have an interest will have the opportunity to be appointed to be a part of that advisory commission. And I'll also tell you, for those of you who are not serving in that capacity, that committee has public testimony. Make certain that you participate in that public testimony. That committee will only be as good as the expertise it receives. And so I want you to know that it will be my personal commitment to make certain that advisory committee travels around Texas and that we get feedback from the best and brightest minds in the quantum ecosystem with regard to where we are going. Because we've got to have all that critical input into the process. Vitally important. But that level now of structure for quantum and the integration and coordination with all of our great Tier 1 universities, working with private sector inventors and entrepreneurs, the great researchers that are in this room, we're really making an enormous difference as we go forward. So I couldn't be more excited about that. I also want to tell you that I think the biggest piece of this quantum effort will be around the workforce. Without any question, the most important piece, in my mind, will be cultivation of our quantum workforce. Listen, I talk to CEOs every week of my life that are here in Texas already, or CEOs that are looking to move to Texas. And when I talk to those individuals, the number one issue, look, we have the very best tax and regulatory environment anywhere in the United States. And I continue to do everything in my power to strengthen it every day. But along with my colleagues and Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor, and our team. But I think it's vitally important for people to understand that any company, it can have the greatest IP in the world, but if you don't have the right talent to execute the mission, it's not going to happen. And so we've got to be laser focused on creating a quantum workforce that is able to not just keep up, but to lead. Vitally important. What does that mean? We need more young kids getting involved in STEM earlier in their lives. We've got to get engaged and invest heavier and make a focus on kids in STEM to be a part of all these incredible technologies that are coming at us so rapidly. And so I think one of the most important things that this committee will do, this advisory group, is to work to make certain that we line up the quantum workforce of tomorrow. And at the same time, understand that there's a lot of amazing talent out there that needs to be reskilled. As AI impacts jobs, I think overall, AI will increase jobs. It will increase productivity and efficiency for this state and for this nation. It will be a boom to GDP. But there will be those that will be impacted along the way. And that's why in years past, I was the author of the Texas Reskilling and Upskilling Initiative that really tried to align the needs of businesses with specifically vocational schools and community colleges for impacted individuals, whether or not they're impacted at 25 or 55 or 75, that want to get reskilled for an opportunity to be a part of this digital economy, to have the ability to participate in the future of a quantum and cyber and AI and so on and so forth. So I just think the workforce piece is vitally important for us to focus on, and I want to bring it to your attention. I also want to tell you about some of the broader framework that's going to support this. You know, one of the things also this session I was so fortunate to lead on was the creation of the future of American finance. The future of American finance, my friends, will now flow through Dallas, Texas. Can you believe that? Y'all Street is the real deal. And in the next 10 to 12 years, what I will tell you is that it will be unquestioned that Texas will be the financial capital of the United States. New York will play second fiddle to Dallas. What does that mean for the quantum initiative? It's incredible, is what it means. It's going to mean more early stage capital for amazing entrepreneurs that are commercializing right now, for new discoveries in your labs right here at UTD and all across Texas. Having access to capital will make all the difference. People say, Tan, why do you care about creating all this legislation to bring Wall Street now to Texas and making Y'all Street? I said, guys, it's simple. It's about jobs, it's about jobs, it's about jobs. Entrepreneurs need access to capital. And in this country, over the course of the last 3 decades, what has happened is that the number of publicly traded companies in this nation has been cut in half. Half from where we were 30 years ago. Why? Because the regulatory regime coming from Washington, and yes, New York, has stifled innovation. Companies have said, I don't want that headache of being publicly listed. I'm going to pass. I'm going to go and just do it on my own with private capital, with VC and private equity, and I'm going to just do that. And that's a sad thing for everybody in this country. Let me tell you why it's sad. Because I believe in free enterprise. I believe in free markets. I believe in competition. I believe in innovation. And when you have a situation like today, where we've had for 3+ decades all these companies that have not gone public, and historically in this country, companies would go from founding to exit in 4 to 7 years. 4 to 7 years. Now it's been pushed back over a decade to somewhere from inception to 14 to 17 years. That's terrible for our innovation economy. It's terrible, frankly, for the Treasury, the federal government. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. We all agree when you have a great financial success with a great company, you do your patriotic responsibility and you support the country. But it also comes back to how do we make certain that we protect our free markets and we protect democracy and the capitalist system. How do we do that? More people have to have access earlier. SpaceX will go public in the next 12 to 15 months. And it will be priced somewhere between 1.2 trillion and 1.5 trillion. Now, don't get me wrong. That's incredible. I'm thrilled. It'll be great for the country. But here's the problem. We, the public at large, retail investors, we should have had the opportunity to invest in that business when it was valued at $100 billion or maybe 10 or 20 billion and had the ability to be a part of that growth to $1 trillion plus enterprise. That would lift everyone's boats. That would allow individuals to invest in that kind of amazing technology for their kids' college, for their own retirement, to help make ends meet. Because that's what's at stake. And that's why Texas can lead. And Texas will lead when it comes to the future of American finance, because this American dream will become a reality. And no other place in America like Texas. And so bringing together the brilliant quantum minds in this room this morning with the future of American finance and access to more early stage capital and taking your company public on one of our 3 exchanges. Think about that, guys. We will have this year the Texas Stock Exchange up and running, the New York Stock Exchange Texas Edition, and the NASDAQ Texas Edition. It's incredible what's happening. We have more, thank you. We have more financial professionals right now in Texas at over 650,000 than the entire state of New York. Think about that already. So many of these major financial services firms, and I go on, have larger workforces here already than they ever had in New York. So that is a great sign, and it's a great macro environment for all of you in this room to work to paint the future of our state and our nation and to drive this quantum economy. And let me tell you, the stakes cannot be higher. You know, we'll talk about this for a moment, but at the end of the day, you've got to recognize where we are in a 2026 world. We have adversaries that want to see America fail. China wants to see America and Texas fail in our quantum initiative. I can assure you of that. But what we've got to recognize and step up to, whether or not you're a researcher, whether or not you're a student, whether or not you're an inventor or investor, we've got to step up and make certain that we win this current battle. This battle will be won through technology, innovation, and quantum. It is the space race of our time when we talk about propelling quantum, propelling AI, and propelling cyber with the underlying framework that supports all of it of American energy. This is the future. Our children and our children's children's future will be determined by what happens this decade, right now. And there is no state better positioned to drive breakthroughs in quantum than Texas and all of you here in this room. And that's why it's so important. And so that's my challenge to every student in this room. Dig deeper. Go back to physics. Go back to engineering. Go back to computer science. To the great researchers in this room, continue to double down your efforts and new discoveries, working to commercialize. To the investors in this room, invest in these early stage opportunities. Protect them. Create the quantum ecosystem of tomorrow. Texas will never play second fiddle. But at the end of the day, it's about our people. It's about our people that make Texas exceptional, not government. Government needs to put in place the least, in my mind, the least damaging regulatory framework, the lightest possible touch. Set the rules of engagement and get out of the way and allow you, the entrepreneurs, the investors, the academics, to drive our collective future. That's the key. It's not government will not solve this problem. Only you will. And so I just want to tell you how proud I am of each of you and what you're doing. I want to thank you for stepping up to the task ahead of understanding what's at stake for our country and for our state, and that no state anywhere in America and no place anywhere on God's globe is better positioned to dominate than us. You know, I was mentored as a kid by a wonderful, great president, President Reagan. Reagan talked about that there will be peace through strength. And I will tell you this, the only peace that will happen in this world in 2026 and going forward will be directly tied to technology dominance. And that's why, my friends, this charter before you, this mission, is so important, it's so timely. You've got the skills, you've got the capabilities. I'll do my very best to keep the ecosystem of coordination with the federal government and the coordination between our public and private sectors going. And I want you to know my door is always open if you have new ideas, new concepts, anything that will help us propel forward our future. But again, the stakes could not be greater, and I couldn't be more proud of all of you because I know that this century will be the American century just like the 20th was. Why? Because Texas will lead and we will dominate when it comes to quantum and AI and cyber and these breakthrough technologies of tomorrow. May God bless you and may God continue to bless our great state of Texas. Thanks for having me, everybody.